The Central Valley, majestic mountain ranges, beauty as far as the eye can see. But underneath the beauty of Kern County and the Central Valley exists a health threat that is unseen.
I was born and raised in Bakersfield. I got diagnosed with valley fever when I was 38 years old. I got it as meningitis and it nearly killed me.
I was pregnant at the time, and that's when they diagnosed me with the valley fever, but we had no idea what valley fever even was.
Those are just two stories of the severe impact that valley fever can have on the lives of the people it affects. Valley fever is a disease that spreads through the air when soil is disturbed. It can spread to skin, bones, eyes, the spinal cord, and brain, resulting in lifelong treatment.
Valley fever is a fungal infection that lives in the dirt, and the fungus produces spores that can blow around in the air up to 75 miles, perhaps even further on occasion.
In the most severe cases, valley fever can be fatal. Paula Massey, unfortunately, knows that very well. Her son, Jeffrey Hamilton, died of complications from valley fever November 3rd, 2017.
He was 39 years old. And my story is that, we didn't know too much about valley fever.
Jeffrey started getting sick in 2010, but no doctor could figure out what was wrong with him. Misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis consumed most of the next 2 years until he was finally diagnosed with valley fever.
It wasn't good. He just was getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and I knew something was going on with him in his mental state. It just wasn't his self.
I knew we had to do something at the state capitol. We had to do something for these families so that their lives could be a little bit better.
Assemblymember Rudy Salas is no stranger to stories of valley fever.
In fact, some of my own family members contracted valley fever. And if you grew up in the valley, when you start talking to people and you start talking to your neighbors and your friends, even your own family members, you learn about valley fever and what it actually does to people. People think that they get a regular fever, they think they have a cold, they think they have the flu, and then come to find out they actually have valley fever.
Salas has made it one of his top priorities to not only educate his colleagues at the state capitol about the seriousness of valley fever, but also to seek funding to combat it. It is part of what he calls a three-pronged approach.
We wanted to make sure we hit all areas. We wanted to make sure that we raised awareness. We wanted to make sure that doctors were trained. We wanted to make sure that workers were protected.
Over the last 2 years, Salas has been able to deliver the greatest investments to fight valley fever in our state's history. A total of $5 million for the Valley Fever Institute at the Kern Medical Center, $3 million for research at the University of California, and $2 million for public outreach and awareness.
It makes sense to put dollars up front that are going to save the state billions down the road. And plus, it's helpful for those families. Those families don't need to needlessly suffer just by us shining a light on valley fever, making sure that we're training doctors so that they diagnose it correctly, making sure people get the medication that they need to get better.
150,000 cases of valley fever go undiagnosed every year. It can be contracted by inhaling the spores of the fungus known as cocci when dirt is disturbed either by wind, farming, construction, earthquakes, or wildfires, making the fungus airborne. Valley fever is endemic to the Central Valley, but cases have been reported in 50 of the 58 California counties.
It involves 25% of the U.S. population that lives in the Southwest. There's valley fever as far north as Redding in California. I just saw a woman yesterday from Tracy that has valley fever. And Tucson has just as much valley fever as we do. There's valley fever in West Texas, El Paso area in particular. And then there's all of northern Mexico has valley fever as well. There's literally millions of people that are at risk for valley fever. Kern County is just the epicenter.